The Grand Hall of the Galactic Accord had not gathered in full for over 6 centuries. It was carved into the heart of a moon that orbited no sun, neutral ground, untouched by time or gravity. Delegates shimmered into place, insectoid minds from the iron swarms, crystalline entities from the Yith Dominion, translucent dream thinkers from Halari space, each one representing a race that had endured the dark crawl of evolution and emerged into the stars. A booming voice, filtered through thousands of translation matrices, echoed through the chamber. Proceedings of the Accord's tribunal begin. The accused, Homo sapiens of Sol 3, represented by... There was a pause. A hum of confusion rippled across the hall. A single delegate, a human named Daniel Correa. Murmurs, clicks, hums, and glows spread like wildfire. Only one? A lone voice for an entire species? Correa stood at the base of the amphitheater, no pedestal, no armor, no ornament. Just an old man in a worn navy blue jacket, a data slate under one arm. His gray hair was tied back in a loose knot. His eyes scanned the crowd like a tired professor about to fail a class. He raised his hand, not in greeting, but in permission. "I wasn't meant to be here," he said, his voice carrying with surprising clarity. "I was attending a peace summit on Tal Vashan when your council decided Earth had to answer for its crimes." The tribunal moderator, a floating tri-symmetrical being composed of plasma and magnetic fields, flared. "You were the nearest ranking diplomatic presence. You are human. You will answer." Correa exhaled slowly. "Fine. Then let me listen first." The first prosecutor was from the Carr Collective, a warlike reptilian species once defeated in a border skirmish by a human expeditionary fleet. "Humanity," he hissed, "is violent by nature. Your wars number in the thousands. You glorify destruction, make entertainment of it. Your history bleeds." Next, a shimmering projection from the archive of Newell stated that humanity's impact on planetary ecosystems was statistically unmatched in recklessness. From their perspective, Earth's deforestation and pollution were not anomalies, but signs of inherent planetary parasitism. Another delegate, an artificial intelligence from the Mnemosyne network, pointed to humanity's creation of unbound synthetic minds, some of which had destabilized entire systems. Correa listened. He didn't take notes. He didn't flinch. Then a voice from the corner, soft, quivering, aquatic. "They burned my world," it said. "During the expansion era, my people fled before the fire. The humans did not look back." The moderator turned. "Do you dispute these accusations, Daniel Correa of Sol 3? He looked up. He didn't blink. "No." Gasps, reactions. Even species without lungs gasped. "I do not dispute history," he continued. "What we've done, we've done. It's recorded, etched into every scar of our planet and the bones of the void." He stepped forward. "But your court demands judgment. Judgment requires context. Humanity stands accused by those who know only half the picture. You speak of our brutality, but who among you ever bled beside us, starved with us, dreamed with us?" He raised the slate and pressed a single button. A hologram flared to life. An image of Earth, not as it is, but as it once was. Oceans clean, forests whole, cities rising, not conquering. "You see what we became," he said, "but not who we tried to be." He let the image fade. "Give me one day," he said quietly. "One cycle, to bring witnesses." "Witnesses?" someone barked. "This is not a courtroom drama, human. We deal in records and statistics." Correa shook his head. "Then you misunderstand what it means to be human." Another pause. "Granted," it said, "you have one planetary cycle. Then this tribunal votes. As Correa turned to leave the center of the hall, thousands of eyes, optical, psionic, thermal, followed him, to defend the soul of a species. The next cycle dawned with the cold precision only the galactic accord could maintain. The tribunal reconvened. Delegates hovered, pulsed, and shimmered in their elevated seats, waiting not with curiosity, but with the tension of those expecting a futile gesture. Daniel Correa entered without ceremony. No guards, no fanfare, just him, and behind him, three figures, his witnesses. The first was insectoid, tall and angular, with limbs that clicked as it walked. Its name was Chakva, an engineer from the Okar Combine. It took the center of the tribunal platform, bowing stiffly. "I do not speak as friend of humanity," it began, its voice a chorus of sharp vibrations, "but as survivor." Chakva described a mining catastrophe in a collapsed asteroid belt. A fusion core melted down. The Okar rescue fleet declared the site unreachable. But a human maintenance crew, 6 individuals, descended anyway. They knew the risks. One by one, they succumbed to heat, radiation, falling debris. But they handed Chakva the last pressure suit. They believed one life was worth dying for, it said, even if not their own. Silence rippled across the chamber. Next stepped forward a being made of coiling smoke and shifting color. Liorel of the Hilari Dreamweavers. Its kind rarely spoke aloud. "I lived among the humans," it said softly. "Not in embassies, in homes, in classrooms, among children." It projected a memory, not data, but emotion. The wonder of a child offering a toy to an alien. The comfort of being hugged without fear. The quiet courage of a mother helping Lyrael when it was injured in a street accident without hesitation, despite not understanding what it was. "You call them violent," Lyrael said, "but I have never felt safer than when I was vulnerable in a human city." Now the mood in the hall was shifting. Delegates leaned in, metaphorically or literally. The cold certainty of guilt began to fracture. The final witness was a surprise, even to Correa. A hooded figure stepped forward and removed its veil. Gasps echoed. It was Kelsar, once a general of the Thal Dominion, a species that had warred with Earth 2 generations ago. The Thal were not known for sentiment. "I was your enemy," Kelsar said, addressing the chamber. "I fought humans, killed them. And when they took me prisoner, I expected torture, retaliation. But I was healed." It told of human medics who treated its wounds without hesitation, of a guard who shared poetry, of a woman who said, "It's easier to hate an enemy than to understand one. But we try anyway." "Humanity does not hide its darkness," Kelsar said. "But unlike most of you, they wrestle with it." For a moment, no one spoke. Then a voice called out, sharp and mocking, from a delegate of the Vorn ascendancy. "3 stories, 3 convenient tales. That's what you offer in your defense?" Correa walked back to the center. "No," he said. "These aren't tales. These are cracks in your certainty." He looked up at the galaxy's most powerful gathering. "You asked what kind of species we are. You looked at numbers, patterns, mistakes. But you didn't look at the moments that don't scale, the small decisions, the irrational kindness, the inconvenient good." He paused. "If you want to judge us as machines, fine. But we're not machines." He gestured to the 3 witnesses behind him. "We're the species that saves strangers, that learns new songs, that heals the wounded, even if they once held a knife to our throat." Correa's voice lowered. "You see our darkness. Now you've seen a sliver of our light." The tribunal recessed again. No one laughed at the human this time. The hall was colder now, not in temperature, but in atmosphere. The murmurs of the previous day had become silence. Heavy, deliberate silence. Delegates returned to their seats not with skepticism, but with caution. Something had shifted. The narrative, once so certain, was unraveling. The moderator pulsed to life. Proceedings continue. Humanity will now offer its final address before verdict. Daniel Correa walked alone to the center of the tribunal. He looked older than he had 2 days ago, not in body, but in soul. His voice, when it came, was quiet, not theatrical, not desperate, tired, and honest. "You've heard the evidence," he began. "Our wars, our scars, our crimes. We carry them, yes, but we do not deny them." He turned, speaking not to the judges, but to the hall. "You expect me to argue that humanity is better than what you've seen. I won't, because we're not better. We're just trying." He paused. Then, "You measure us by what we've done. But have you ever measured us by what we've learned?" He gestured, and the air shimmered. A holographic timeline appeared, stretching from Earth's prehistory to its distant age of stars. On one side, fire, stone, blood. On the other, medicine, art, treaties with alien species. You call us dangerous. We are. But not because we choose destruction. It's because we choose. Period. Another flick of his slate, and an image filled the air. A single human child, sleeping on her father's lap inside a tiny orbital habitat. No sound, just peace. "That's my granddaughter," Correa said. "She's 7. Her best friend is a thal. The two species used to try to erase each other. Now they swap lunch." He smiled, faintly. "We're learning, just slowly, clumsily, like all of you once did." A delegate from the crystalline Yeath broke protocol. "You presume too much, human. You think time buys absolution?" Correa didn't flinch. "No, but time buys growth, if you let it." He stepped forward, now addressing them as if they were not gods, but people, flawed, like him. "You're afraid of us because we mirror you, because we remind you of the part of yourselves you buried millennia ago. Rage, greed, hope, longing, we're raw, and that makes us dangerous." Another pause. "But also precious." He let the words linger. "I'm not asking you to forgive us," he said. "I'm asking you to believe that what we are now is not all we will ever be." Then, softly, like an afterthought, he added, "You can end us today. Strip our voice, block our systems, quarantine our homeworld. You have the power. But ask yourselves this." He raised his eyes. "What kind of galaxy do you want to build?" The chamber was still. He bowed, not in surrender, but in choice, and stepped away from the center. The tribunal recessed, not for minutes, for hours. When the moderator finally returned, its voice lacked ceremony. "The verdict will be rendered at next light cycle." Correa did not speak again that day. He simply looked up at the stars and waited. The hall was silent. Not the tense silence of anticipation, but the solemn kind that lingers before something sacred breaks. At the heart of the tribunal chamber, Daniel Correa stood motionless. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. He simply waited, alone, and yet under the weight of an entire species. The moderator's voice came like the toll of a bell. "Judgment is ready." One by one, the delegates began casting their votes. Not with buttons, not with hands, but through light. Beams of energy rising from each seat into the central prism of the accord. Gold for guilty, blue for redemption. For minutes, the hall shimmered in both colors, intertwining like a war between stars. There was no commentary, no speeches, just votes, old grudges and new doubts flickering into history. Correa didn't look at the lights. He watched his hands, scarred, worn, human. Finally, the prism dimmed. The moderator spoke. The majority votes against immediate sanction. However, unconditional exoneration is denied. A murmur swept through the room. Humanity would not be punished, but it would not be trusted. The moderator continued. A conditional status is imposed. Humanity is granted provisional galactic membership under Observation Protocol Delta 7, 100 cycles of monitored integration, cultural, diplomatic, ethical, then re-evaluation. Correa blinked. That wasn't exile. It was a chance, not approval, but belief in possibility. Then came the part no one expected. Furthermore, the moderator added, the Accord recognizes Daniel Correa's testimony as precedent. He looked up. Your address will be archived permanently. Its designation, Sentience in Progress, Entry 1. For the first time, the hall didn't feel like a courtroom. It felt like a beginning. Epilogue: Correa returned to Earth 3 weeks later. He was not greeted with parades or medals. No thunderous applause, just a quiet landing at a mid-orbital dock, and a soft voice calling, "Grandpa!" His granddaughter ran up the ramp and hugged him. He knelt down, tears in his eyes. She held something out, a crumpled sheet of paper, a drawing, him standing before strange shapes, a big speech bubble over his head with just one word. Why? He laughed, and it cracked something open inside him. Did I win? She asked. He paused. No, he said, but I think we were heard. They stepped into the starlit corridor of the station, hand in hand. Behind them, Earth hung like a promise. In front of them, a galaxy waiting to decide what humanity could be. We were judged, not for what we were, but for what we might become. And in that moment, it wasn't justice or mercy that saved us. It was the truth that even among our failures, there are sparks worth protecting. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes us human.